Good afternoon, students. This particular class is especially for the CUET PG English aspirants. And in today's class, we are going to discuss about literary criticism. And we are going to understand what is literary criticism. In the unit number 6, the unit is regarding literary criticism and theory. To understand theory, we need to know criticism at first. We can say the forefather of the theory is the criticism, literary criticism. And people and the students, especially students, find very difficult to understand what is criticism and what is theory because of the language. Language makes criticism and theory is very different. Although the subject that criticism and theory deals actually is very new to the students, not only to the students of the literature. If you are student of other discipline, other subject as well, they also find difficulties when they deal with criticism and theory of their particular field. In the case of sociology, economics, theory and criticism always difficult for the students. Why? Because of the language again. Here I am your professor going to discuss this literary criticism, going to explain what is literary criticism in a very simple language, in very lucid manner. Why? For the betterment of you. You means the whole student community. So be with me in this class, understanding literary criticism. So let me change the slide at first. What is the meaning of criticism? Have we done any time any critical work? Have we done any criticism in our student life, in our BA? Yes, of course. If you are asking the question, sir, are you really familiar with the critical part of the criticism? Yes, obviously you are. How? By the questions. The questions that you deal in your UG examination, in your semester examination, like compare and contrast, write a short note on the character of Lady Macbeth. Compare and contrast the two characters, Macbeth and Banquo, as well as any other, like what is the theme of the play Merchant of Venice. Compare and contrast of the character of the Blanchely and the Sergius from the Arms and the Man. This type of questions actually the result of literary criticism that we are dealing in the format of question and answers. So to know criticism in better way, in easy way, let's go to the etymology of criticism. The word criticism has its origin in Greek language. Kritikos. What is the meaning of kritikos? Able to discern. Skilled in judging. Derived from the word krinein, to separate or to judge. Simply, if I try to make it very simple, the word criticism means to judge, to evaluate. But now think, what do we evaluate in literature? Again, remind the questions of your syllabus that you have already attained, in your examination in semester 1, semester 2, semester 3, semester 4. What type of questions that we have dealt? We have dealt questions that is theme oriented. What is the theme of the poetry? What is the theme of a particular novel? What is the theme of a particular drama? Macbeth, Merchant of Venice, as well as Arms and the Man, novel like The Mayor of Casterbridge. What is the theme? Who are the characters? What are the good qualities of those characters? When we are writing a note on characters' qualities, that means we are doing criticism, but unknowingly. But from here it is part of your syllabus. Already in BA 5th semester, 6th semester, you are dealing with criticism. So it is quite easy for you now. Understand that you are already in the practice of criticism. There is not any particular definition of literary criticism. It is a very blurred area. We can understand with the concepts. So just wait. Let me remind with the what is literary criticism. It is a logical practice. It is a very rational, deliberate practice. Practice done by whom? Practice done by the students, scholars, professors, everyone who are students of the literature, who are learning the literature, English literature, Bengali literature, Hindi literature. They are all doing criticism. They are evaluating a novel's theme. They are evaluating a character. They are evaluating the literary elements of a play, of a poetry, especially symbolism, imagism. These are different literary devices. So how to do this? Now it is the time. It is the time to know things properly. So here, analyzing, interpreting and evaluating literary elements of a text. The text can be in any form. The text can be in any form, means in the form of poetry, in the form of different form of poetry like lyric, ode, sonnet, ballad, scholarly tradition. It is, of course, it is a scholarly tradition. Layman can't do this logical practice, this logical criticism. From east to west, in every civilization, in every community, developed community like Indian community, the old and in ancient period, our sages used to do criticism in Greek tradition, in Roman tradition, Aristotle, Plato, these philosophers also used to do criticism. They are also part of our literary criticism as well. These are different schools of literary criticism. Obviously, there are different schools of literary criticism. Why there are different schools of literary criticism? Because different domain of a literature, different domain of literature handled by, criticized by different group of scholars. For example, if you know Rasa Sutras, Beer Ras, Sringar Ras, there is a Rasa school of theory, Dhani school of theory in Sanskrit literature, in our ancient practice, in ancient Indian practice, there was a practice of Dhvani, Riti. In the same way, in Western tradition, they also done with this criticism, this domain of criticism, writing style, related to the writing style. We will know these things in the later pages, later slides. Wait, area of literary criticism. Now go to the next slide. Yes, subject of the literary criticism, or the area of the literary criticism. At first, we criticize the text. Our main subject, pivotal subject, is the text itself. Structure and form. What do we criticize? What do we study? What do we study? We study structure of a poem, structure of a drama, structure of a novel. If you remember the ideal structure of a drama, there is a German scholar, Freitag. They have given exposition, beginning, exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, anticlimax and denouement. Beginning, exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, anticlimax, denouement. It was the structure of a tragedy given by a German scholar, Freitag. So, what Freitag has studied, criticized the structure. Even D.H. Lawrence, E.M. Foster, they have studied the structure of a novel, structure and form. So, examine the organization, style and literary devices used in a work. Aristotle's Poetics, Aristotle, the great philosopher, it was also part of your syllabus if you are a student of BHU and other university as well, maybe. It is part of almost every, it is hallmark. You can't study literature without reading Aristotle's The Poetics, the great work by the Aristotle. What he has done in the Poetics, in the book The Poetics, is scholarly work. Simply, Aristotle has done literary criticism in the format of evaluating the structure of a tragedy, form of a tragedy, and different elements of a tragedy. Simply, Aristotle had done post-mortem of a tragedy as well as narrative poetry. By doing post-mortem, what he found? He found there are different elements that actually made a good tragedy. That actually the is the reason or the factors behind of a good tragedy. What are those that we will know in the next class? What we are that we are going to deal the book, the poetics, the concept of the poetics in the next video. Whatever. Examples, narrative structure, rhyme schemes and symbolism. What the critics? Aristotle, Longinus. Rhyme scheme, Shakespearean stanza, Spenserian stanza, heroic couplet. There are different stanza form. Heroic couplet is there. Shakespeare writing style, Shakespeare stanza form is known as Shakespearean stanza. What are those? How these things actually we get? We get. Did Shakespeare himself write this for him? That okay, I'm going to write in the form of 3/4 1 couplet A B A B C D C D in this rhyme scheme, so it will be called Shakespearean stanza. Where from we get this? Actually, it is the result of criticism, literary criticism. Don't take the word criticism in negative way. It is very positive. Simply criticism means to judge or to evaluate. Now go to the next slide. Language and diction. Yes, the whole literature depends on language. Without language, literature is nothing. We read the text of a political science. We read the text of social science, sociology. We read the text of a poetry. What is the difference? The core difference is in language. Language that makes a subject special. And what we add in language that makes the language special? Simply some literary devices that makes language, that makes literature special. We will know those literary devices. Already you know, we have studied in your BA syllabus, in your semesters, in your semester examination. Although we have to revise, we have to relearn for the exam of the CUET PG English. So here, focus is on the choice of words. Can you remember the preface to the lyrical ballads by Wordsworth? The very preface that was added in the publication, in the second edition of the lyrical ballad, where Wordsworth has given his view regarding his poetry. What is poetry? What is the choice of words? Yes, preface to lyrical ballads is a kind of essay written by Wordsworth. That is actually a critical work done by Wordsworth himself. Even Biographia Literaria by Coleridge, it is again a scholarly work. In the chapter number 13, in the chapter number 14, Coleridge has given new concepts to the students of literature, to the world, that in the form of primary imagination, in the form of secondary imagination, fancy. Even he also debated on what? He also debated on the justification of the choice of words, on the justification of the language that has been used by William Wordsworth in his poetry. So even poets, they are scholars, they have debated, they have evaluated each other's work. It is the job of criticism. So the first subject or the first domain that we deal in the literary criticism, that we deal with the text itself. In the text, we study the structure of a text, that means structure of a poem, structure of a novel, form of a novel. What kind of novel it is? Epistolary novel, Epicurus novel, psychological novel. What kind of novel it is? Where from we get these ideas? We get these ideas only by doing criticism, literary criticism. Language, diction. Diction means choice of words. What is the mode or the tone of a poem? If you remember the poem, if you read the poem, yes, definitely, the poem is The Last Ride Together or My Last Duchess. This type of poetry. What is the tone of those poetry? Optimistic, pessimistic. We have to learn these things. I think you know all these things. If not, then you have to learn for the CUET PG English. And the way we do, we analyze the tone of the poem. That is also part of literary criticism. That comes in the section of the criticism of language and diction. Yes, here I have given the example of Wordsworth and Coleridge. who did criticism on language and diction. Here the author, the next subject which is part of the criticism, that is the author itself, author's biography. We wonder, who is the black lady of the Shakespeare's sonnet? Who is the black lady? That is still mystery. Some call it is a Mary Phaeton. Mary Phaeton is, some believe that Mary Phaeton is the lady, is the black lady that is mentioned by Shakespeare. What is the curious case of Christopher Marlowe's death? How he was died? It's still mystery that can be solved in the form of biographical criticism, and also many things. Because when we do subjective literature, very subjective literature like romantic literature, whether it is Wordsworth, Coleridge, Keats, to analyze their poetry, it is our very presumption that we have to read their life to understand their emotions. Because how can we interpret Adonis properly without knowing the relationship between Shelley and Keats? So here we need a biographical criticism. That's why biographical context is also important. Studies the life of the author to understand their influences and intentions. What is the role of the environment of the Lake District where Wordsworth Coleridge used to reside? Their abode was there. Lake District has very much impact on their life. They were very much influenced by the environment of the Lake District. The hillside, the rolling hills, the lakes, the river, the brooks, that actually positioned, captured by the Wordsworth's mind, and it was resulted in the form of poetry. Yarrow visited, Yarrow revisited, Yarrow unvisited. These types of poetry are the result of the Lake District. Of the Lake District where Wordsworth used to reside. Even Jane Austen's life. Jane Austen, one of the prime novelists of the Romantic age. His novel like Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Mansfield Park. Those are not very subjective in nature, although the limitation, one of the criticism that is always surrounded by Jane Austen, that Jane Austen is very limited in his edition, in his book, in her book. Why? To know this, we have to go to the biographical study. The reader is also part of criticism. Every text is meant for some reader. So reader is also an integral part of literature or the literary criticism. Here comes the importance of reader response. If a reader not responds after reading a text, then what is the value of the text? Just think this way, that a singer sings songs and there is no audience. There is no audience to listen to her, to enjoy the song. There is no audience for a film. Just think, is there any value of that particular film, particular art form? No. So we always need reader, audience for our art form, that what he or she or they are getting, what is their response after reading, after watching a thing, after watching an art form. I'm not talking about only literature. I'm talking here all the art forms, in the form of paintings, in the form of sculpture, in the form of web series, in the form of film, in the form of song, music. Every art form needs its audience. So, focuses on how readers interpret and emotionally engage with the text. New criticism, reader response theory actually build on these things. Examples, different interpretations of Hamlet by various audiences. How we are going to interpret a text. It varies readers to readers, reader to reader. And this thing is very important. And these are the prime. So the reader, the author, and the text itself. These three actually actually the pivotal subject of the criticism, of literary criticism. Okay, hopefully you have understood. Okay, so again I am repeating the text itself, the reader, and the text itself, the reader, and the author. These three is the subject domain of literary criticism. Here, etymology done, we have done. Now, origin and development. In this section, in this slide, we are going to read about origin and development of literary criticism in West, not of India, not of East. We have different school of criticism, but here we are going to learn about origin and development of Western tradition of literary criticism. Western tradition of literary criticism. Ancient beginnings. Greek origins. Literary criticism began where? The very first trace that history actually able to capture, that is in Greece. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, these are the philosopher as well as they are the literary critic. Literary criticism began in ancient Greece with Plato and Aristotle. Aristotle was the, I can say, Shishya, people or the disciple of Plato. Plato was also disciple of whom? Disciple of Socrates. Plato. Aristotle. Plato is not part of our syllabus till now, but we will know some basic idea of the Plato's criticism in the next video, and in detail we are going to deal with Aristotle. Born in the 4th century BC, wrote Poetics, and Poetics deals with what? Just wait. We are going to meet in the next video, in the next class. There I am going to teach you about Aristotle's magnus opus, the Poetics. Here also Roman contributors, critics like Horace, Longinus. Longinus has given the concept of on the sublime, the concept of sublimity, true sublimity. Horace has given the concept regarding poetry. He tried to define what is poetry, and his famous work is Ars Poetica. So, as well as in the tradition of Western literary criticism, after the ancient who actually contributed in this field, they are Greek, they are Roman, as well as English people. Sir Philip Sidney, Wordsworth, Coleridge, Keats, T.S. Eliot, Matthew Arnold, as well as some French scholar. But we have to focus mainly on Aristotle, Longinus. That was our part of your syllabus. As well as we have to think about the modern, the romantic critic, the modern critic, the Elizabethan critic, especially the English critic that we have to focus for this exam. So let's meet in the next video, in the next class, where we are going to discuss about these poetical works, their scholarly works in detail. So do join our batch, do join our paid course, and we will learn these things together. Again, I am repeating the key point of today's class, that is regarding literary criticism. Criticism means to judge, to evaluate. What to evaluate? Evaluate a text. A text can be in any format, in any form. Format means that can be printed text or digital text, or in any form, means in the form of poetry, in the form of prose, in the form of drama. Okay, there are different types of poetry as well, and main subject of the literary criticism are three: the text itself, and the author of the text, and the reader of the text. These three compilingly meet the world of the literary criticism. For example, again I am saying that think about the poetry. Have you ever thought of what is poetry? what is drama? If not, then start thinking. So various scholars, even the poets themselves, poet like Sydney, poet like Wordsworth, they have tried to define poetry and their way of writing poetry. Wordsworth in his essay Preface to Lyrical Ballads, he tried to define what is romantic poetry, why he is writing subjective poetry, not why he is not written poetry like neoclassical age, the way Alexander Pope written poetry, the way Shakespeare has written poetry. Every author, every scholar tried to define their position, and this definition, their way of defining things, become scholarly, become part of the criticism. That's it. If you have any question, you can ask in the comment section, or you can ask personally. You can visit our website BHU Pathshala, or you can download also our app of BHU Pathshala. It's available on Google Play Store. Thank you very much. Let's meet in the next video.